Hey guys, another kind of stress management type video here, I guess. Which I make, I guess, probably 50% of it is, to put ideas out there that I think are useful or interesting, and the other 50% is really like to help myself, calm down, and to process my own feelings, I guess. Uh, and there's a thing I've been writing about. I'm working on a book at the moment, and one of the things I've been writing about in this book is one of the sections is sort of about like how bad is it really? Like this bad situation, how bad is it really? And it's a useful question to ask yourself, and it can be hard to ask yourself that when you get caught up in the moment of the stress or panic or depression or anger or whatever's going on. It can be very easy to get carried away with an emotion, particularly for me. Like I feel I have a kind of a problem in that regard. It's like very hard to let go of certain emotions. It becomes very hard to not have a completely singular focus on something that's gone wrong, and to just completely lose perspective. And yeah, it's been a mad one the last few days. Last week I took my car in to get the brakes changed, which was quite expensive. It was like, almost €300. And it was like, all right, getting the brakes changed. It almost feels good when you get something like that done, because particularly when it's a second-hand car that you've bought, and you sort of feel, I'm kind of making the car newer, I'm improving the car, and it's a good solid purchase that lasts a while. Then the airbag light came on while I was waiting for this appointment to get the brakes changed. So I said, can you check the airbag as well? And they were like, yeah. And I won't get into it, but I'd already had some problems with this mechanic, this workshop, and one of the employees had been pretty inappropriate. But anyway, they're the most readily available, and by and large, they're quite competent. So I went with them. And yeah, they said, yeah, we'll do the airbag light. Anyway, last week they did the brakes, and then I went to pick it up, and they were like, yeah, we haven't had time to do the airbag. I was like, all right, cool. And they said, we can do it next week. So I said, yeah, all right. And we arranged to do it at 3:30 yesterday. I dropped it off at 3:30 yesterday, and it's far away. It's like an hour and a half walk from here. So sometimes what would happen is they would offer to give me a lift, because if you drive, it's really quick. It's like a long straight road, but if you walk, it takes forever. And it's kind of like a shitty walk, And so when I initially went to do the brakes, one of the guys there gave me a lift back and forth, which was cool. And then the next time I thought, I don't really want to ask them for a lift. It's kind of annoying. They're just doing the airbag light. I assume it won't be a long thing, so I'll just go. Apologies if this is boring. It's going somewhere. I said I'll just go, and I'll just walk around. So I decided there's a calisthenics partner there. So I thought, right, I'll delay my workout for the day, and I'll get some other tasks ready that I need to do, and I'll bring some stuff with me so I can do some tasks, and I'll go to the shop and stuff while I'm there, so it won't be too bad. So I'll just drop the car off and wait around in the area. So I told the guy, I said, here's the keys, I'll be nearby. And he was like, yeah. And just kind of shooed me away. And I was like, oh, okay. I said, all right, call me when it's done. He was like, yeah, I'll call you, He's like really shitty with me. And they're always shitty with me. And I don't know why, because when I look at their reviews, they're glowing. But for whatever reason, they've not extended the same courtesy to me as they do to their other more important customers who have more cars and live locally, or are local, are from the local area, or whatever it is, are just somehow more respectable than me, I guess. And I was like, cool, all right, see you in a bit. And he said it'll probably be ready at about 6:30. So I spent the whole day, I did my workout, I'd done all my shit, and I was like, man, this is getting kind of rough. I'm waiting around here, and it's boring and whatever. But I didn't want to ring them. I didn't want to be a nag, because it's been a bit frosty with them, and there's been some issues, and I was trying to be the bigger person, and I thought I'll leave them to it, because they get grumpy about everything. So I left it. I didn't ring, even though it was getting quite late. And then I saw my battery was dying. I was on 1%, so I was like, I'd better go there, because I'll just tell them, look, I have to sit here while you do it, because my battery's going to die, so you won't be able to ring me. And then as I was getting there, I saw everything was closed. All the gates were closed and shit, and the front door was closed. Everything was fully shut down, and there was no one there. And I got there and I could see my car locked into behind the gate, and everything was closed and I couldn't access it. And I texted him and I was like, I'm on 1%. What's going on? Why is my car locked away? Where have you gone? Why didn't you tell me? And then just as I did that, and I texted my girlfriend and I was like, I'm going to be home really late. Obviously, I'm going to walk home. And I've been pacing around all day in like burning hot sun. It was just annoying as fuck. Anyway, luckily I just managed to text her, thank God. And then I was shouting through the gate, like, is anyone there? Blah, blah, blah. No answer. So I was like, right, nothing to do but walk home. And I thought, this is such an outrageous thing that they've done. And they've got a very good reputation as being so courteous and so, like, you, honestly, reading the reviews, it's like, man, like, it's just like they're sucking people off or something. It's like, it's like, you honestly, I read the reviews, I was like, wow, even if I didn't have a car, I'd want to go here. You know, it sounded amazing. Like, the glowing descriptions people gave of the service, I was like, Jesus, these sound like the nicest people ever. And for me, I mean, the guy who did my clutch previously, he tried to bully me into not getting. He did it really badly, and it was like really crazily juddering. And he tried to like bully me into not telling the boss, and tried to like just sort of make me go away. And then the boss had to force him to fix it. And when he fixed it, it was completely fine. And he didn't say, yeah, you were right, it did need fixing, sorry about that, or whatever. He was just a total dick about it. And I thought, wow, this is weird, you know? This isn't what I read in the reviews. Anyway, so I thought this is so ridiculous, what they've done, that I reckon one of them is going to drive past while I'm on the way, because they know which way I'm going. And they knew fully, by the way, I don't live there, and they know that I have a long journey. I thought one of them's probably going to drive past, I'm going to see them on the way, and I'm going to be fucking, you know, a bit sour about it. And they'll offer to give me a lift because this is crazy. And I was walking home, and just the longer it went, I didn't see anyone, you know, and I'm like, okay, no one's coming, I guess. But I'm going to get a big apology when I get home. And then I got home, and I thought, I'll wait a little bit before I put my phone on, make it seem like it's taken me even longer to get home, you know. And I waited a bit. And by this point, it had been like 2 hours since I initially texted him at the workshop. And I saw he'd read my messages and not replied. And I tried ringing him and he didn't answer. He just read it and didn't reply. He didn't say anything. And then I got a text from my service provider to say I'd had a missed call. I don't know why he did a normal phone call. I mean, it's probably different in like America and stuff, but here no one does normal phone calls. Everyone uses WhatsApp all the time. You never do normal phone calls. The quality's shit. The signal's always bad. You just never do it. Everyone just uses WhatsApp. And if you get a missed call on WhatsApp, it shows you immediately, and you can just send a message on WhatsApp, and that's just what everyone does. It's just completely the norm. Anyway, I got a text that I'd had a missed call just before they closed, one missed call, and it had obviously gone straight to answer phone because I was out of signal because I was where they're based, where there is no fucking signal. And yeah, he tried once. Didn't send a message, didn't try and call me again, just went, he can walk home, fuck him, we didn't do his car. This prick's not answering, fuck him, I just won't try again, you know, I'll just put the phone down and drive off and go home. And that was right before, he didn't even give me any time. So, you know, I could have even if I'd received the call, I might not have been able to get there on time to like get my car and go home. And, or to get a lift, you know. So he just left. And then he called me back that night after I'd gotten home, you know, he called me back, the owner. And he was like, right, so yeah, the car, do you need it tomorrow then? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, okay, we could do it at this time and I'll let you know what the price is going to be and we'll do the thing. And I was like, you're not going to say anything? He was like, what? And I was like, you're not going to mention what happened? You know, you're not going to apologize? Like, you just fucking left me there. You barely even tried to get hold of me. You didn't even send a text, you know, like you call. Imagine you call someone, you know, they don't answer, and you just send a text at least, you know, like, have had to leave, couldn't get through to you, your car's there, sorry, I've had to go, or something, you know, like, explain it, so I'm not walking around some fucking random industrial estate having to turn up at the gate and see it's locked in there. It's just like, what, you know, what kind of behaviour is that? It's crazy. And he was like, apologise for what? And I was like, you didn't you didn't even text me to tell me what had happened. You waited till you were literally just about to leave. You tried to ring once, and I think that's worse, because if he hadn't rung at all, I'd assume he forgot. But he knew that I was there. He knew I was waiting. He knew I didn't have a way of getting home. He knew I was just like walking around in the fucking sun all day, and just left, you know. And I had shopping. I had food. I had like fish and chicken and stuff in my backpack. Anyway, and he wouldn't. He was so like, it was bizarre, you know, because I'm not expecting someone to fucking kiss my ass over it, but like just even a fake apology, go, oh yeah, sorry about that, and I would think, okay, I can't really say anything, but whatever, you know, I'd be forced to accept a shitty apology. He didn't even give a shitty apology. He wouldn't even say, oh yeah, pardon, you know, whatever, sorry about that. He just acted as if it was like, you know, absolutely nothing. And we had a bit of a back and forth about it on the phone, and he was like, yeah, well, it's your fault for dropping the car off at 3:30. And I was like, we fucking agreed I'd drop it off at 3:30. That's when you finish lunch, you know? I couldn't drop it off in the morning, so I dropped it off as early as I could in the afternoon, because that's when you finish lunch. I'm not going to drop it off during lunchtime. And he was like, yeah, well, if you want the job done, you should give me more time. And I was like, it's not even about that. I don't care really that you didn't do the job. You didn't even tell me you were leaving. And he was like, we finish at 6:30. I was like, you finished at like 8 the other day. You were texting me at like 8 o'clock. Anyway, he was just telling me the most ridiculous shit. And I was like, man, fuck these people. They're crazy. This morning he texted me and he said, right, I've got the bill for the airbag light, 500 euros. And I was like, no. I thought this was going to be a little electronic job, you know, like 80 euros. And he said, no, to fix the airbag light would be 500 euros. And I thought, what happened yesterday plus this, they're trying to piss me off on purpose. I think they're basically telling me we don't want you coming here, so we're going to just like be absolutely outrageous towards you, and that'll put you off coming back because we don't want you here for whatever reason with your shitty car, you know, or I don't know, there could be something more sinister than that. But so I was like, no, that's all right. I don't want to pay 500. And I didn't really feel like giving them 500. And I naively assumed it would be easy to get it done, like with someone else. You know, I'll just ring someone else up. And so I turned it down. I went and one of them, and I was like, can you drop the car off here? And he was like, no, but I'll send someone to pick you up. Because I thought, least they could do is drop it off here. They left me to fucking walk home, you know, through the fucking middle of a field. And so he sent the guy, and the guy he sent was this young guy who was a real prick to me before and tried to like bully me, like probably tried to intimidate me to like not get the clutch repaired when he didn't do it properly. He was incredibly rude. For like, I mean, there was no reason for it. He just couldn't be asked to do it. And he said in front of me to the boss, he was like, are you fucking serious? Like, you're gonna make me, I'll have to take the whole thing apart again? What the fuck? Like, he was getting really annoyed with his boss. And the boss was like, just do it, and like talking quietly to him. And I was like, I'm fucking right here, man, you know? It's crazy. I guess he thought I couldn't understand because it's not my first language. But anyway, it was pretty clear what they were talking about. So anyway, in the car on the way there, he was driving me to the workshop to pick my car up. And he was like, how you doing? I was like, yeah, a bit annoyed, really, you know, a bit annoyed about what's happened. And he was like, what? And like all this performative, like, no, with us, we're good. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's pretty annoying to have left me there yesterday and to not even send me a message or tell me what's going on or explain or apologise that you had to leave so suddenly without giving me any warning of it. And to just apologise for not having fixed it, you know, I don't know, it's just normal, basic manners. And he was like, what? We tried, we called you. And I was like, you called once? He was like, yeah, it's not our fault your phone was off. You know, it's just crazy shit, like unbelievable, the rudeness of it. And then I was like, all right, man, whatever. And he goes, and what else? You know, have we done anything else wrong to you? Is that it? Like, what's your problem with us? I was like, well, you fucking tried to bully me out of getting the clutch repaired. You were trying to, what happened was when I went back the first time to get it done, I'd agreed with the boss that it would be replaced. And the guy, the younger guy who did the clutch, he saw me going in and he like came and intercepted me. And he was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, I'm here to get the clutch replaced, or, you know, redone. And he was like, I fucking told you, it doesn't need doing. And I was like, well, I spoke to your boss and he agrees it's, you know, it really sounds quite bad. And he was like, nah. And like, it's hard to describe. Like, he really had like a horrible look in his face when he was doing this. And It really annoyed me, I just thought it was so unnecessary, like completely horrible to speak to someone like that. And I was right. He fixed it, and it was fine after that. So obviously I was right. And I mentioned this to him today because he said, "What's your problem with us?" And I said, "Well, that wasn't great either." And he was like, "That never happened. You're lying." And the whole time I'm driving, he's driving, and he's looking at me the whole time, and I'm like, "Fucking hell, man! There's cars coming towards us. It's like 80 kilometers an hour." And he just keeps looking at me, and he's like, "Nah, you're lying, man." And he starts being like, "That's dirty, you're lying, that's dirty." And I'm just sat there like, "Fucking shut the fuck up, man." Like, and I was just like, "Cool, I'm not arguing with you about this. This is so ridiculous. Like, it's just the stupidest conversation ever. It happened. That is absolutely." And he was like, I'm just an employee. How could I argue with my boss?" And I'm like, "I don't fucking care, man. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't care. Like, shut the fuck up." And I was like, I want my car back. Just be quiet. So I got the car, and I went into the garage, and the boss starts firing up again with all the excuses, like, "You didn't answer" and stuff. So I started having a little argument with him, and I was like, "It's just rude, it's ridiculous. Like, you could have sent me a message. I know that you aren't like that with your other clients. It's really obvious. Like, you clearly wouldn't do that to someone who you felt was more important. It's obvious. Like, I've read your reviews. I've read the service you give to people." Funnily enough, that young guy was mentioned in one of the reviews in the most glowing terms, and the description of how he behaved towards the other customer was like, it was funny to read it, because I was like, man, imagine he spoke to them the way he spoke to me. And I said to the boss, and he didn't really deny it. I was like, "You wouldn't do that to your other customers. You just wouldn't. That's ridiculous. Like, that is absolutely ridiculous. You would at least send them a message and say, 'I'm sorry, I have to go,' or whatever it was. It's absurd to behave like that." And I was obviously right, and I kind of won the argument, and it felt kind of good because it was my second language, and I could see he didn't really know what to say, and I was, thinking, yeah, you're obviously fucking wrong. Well, I'm struggling to put the sentences together, and I'm still, obviously right. You've been a total dick. So I left, and then I went to get in, and I put the key in the ignition, and it just wouldn't turn. Like, it really wouldn't turn. It wasn't my fault. I put it in, and it was like, it completely stuck. I took it out, I put it in again, I took it, and it just wasn't going. I was trying it the other way, and I was turning the key around, and I was like, "Nope, gonna have to go back." So I went back in, and I was like, "Key's not going in the ignition." I don't know what happened. He came out, and he just put it in, and I don't know if he did something. He knew what was wrong and did something, but whatever it was, he put it in, and it turned, and he was like, "It's fine." And I was like, "Oh, well." I was a bit embarrassed, I was like, "It was blocked before, but whatever." And he was like, "No, it was fine." And I was like, "Okay." And then I sort of drove off with my head down, like thinking, "Fuck this." And then I started looking around, trying to see if I could get it done elsewhere, or if I could do it myself or something. And basically, what I discovered was that A, no one else has the parts in stock, and it'll take fucking ages to get them. B, that's about as cheap as it's going to be. And C, I definitely can't do it myself. And he was willing to do it this morning. So had I just paid this morning, I would have it done now already, And then after realizing all this, after spending all day trying to sort it out elsewhere, I said to him, I texted him again, and I said, "Look, if you still have the part, I'm willing to pay. Can you do it?" And he sent something and then deleted it, so I guess it was rude. And then he sent another one and said, "No, sorry, I've returned the part." And I was like, cool. So I lost all the dignity I had accumulated, all the respect I had sort of, insisted upon, because I had to come crawling back to ask him to do it again, and he still refused. And so now I'm at fucking square one, and I have all this shit I have to, all these like classes I have to go to, and my girlfriend needs lifts to places. And then we've got a huge trip planned tomorrow, which we were going to drive for, and I feel it's a long trip on the motorway. I don't really want to go without an airbag. And it's also for her, because she'll be in the front with me, and I don't really feel comfortable putting her, in there without an airbag on a drive I've not done before, and a slightly dodgy car. So we have to, I don't know, figure something out with public transport or taxis or something insane. It's going to be really difficult. And and then I have no idea when the car's going to be done, and I have so much stuff, and I need it to work. I need the car. Like I don't really have an option. I can't work without it either. And I have to go to like different classes I'm doing, like group, like martial arts things and stuff, and I'm like thinking, even if we get it done, it's going to be probably like minimum 500. We just paid 300 for the brakes, and it's overwhelming. You just because the things just keep hitting you over and over again, and you're like, oh my god. And then it's like, what's going to break next? And I have to do the MOT every 6 months, and I have to fucking pay for a bunch of shit then, and it never ends. It's like really overwhelming, the cost of it, and the difficulty and the hassle. Which obviously, if you're like minted, you just have like 2 cars, and you just whatever. One breaks, you take it to the mechanic, say fuck it, keep it as long as you like. I've got the other one. See you in a bit. I can get a fucking taxi if I like anyway. But when you're not, there's a lot of thinking you have to do, and a lot of it's all mad. And then we've got this trip organised and stuff. And when it gets all sort of on top like that, like it is easy to just get utterly overwhelmed and to sort of shut down, at least for me anyway, like to sort of shut down emotionally, and to think like I just can't cope. I just can't. I don't know how to deal with this situation. I can't. How am I gonna get to this thing? How am I gonna work? How is she gonna go to work? How are we gonna do this trip we've already paid for? Like, what happens if the dog all these things. And with time, when after it passes, because I feel it kind of like grabs you, and it sort of grabs you in the chest, and like it squeezes you, all this emotion, and you can't think straight. And then you sort of think about the things one by one, and it's like, okay, I just can't go to my martial arts classes for a week or 2, maybe more. That's all right, not that bad. The trip, yeah, it's going to be really difficult. We're going to have to figure out some sort of ridiculous way of getting there that's either going to be really expensive or really time consuming and will sort of negatively impact the trip. Okay, it's not the end of the world. Other small errands can do on like a bike or something. It's people who do that. There's people who don't even have a bike. And the sort of humiliating aspect or the infuriating aspect is nothing. I mean, really, it doesn't matter, it means nothing in the end. And really, if someone is a dick, they think, we've got the last laugh or the moral victory or whatever. That's their problem, basically. And all of it, in the end, when I look at it, I'm like, well, I'm here. I'm in an armchair. I have a leisurely enough existence that I can take the time to do this. I'm not working in an iPhone factory or something in China, and we'll still be able to do the trip more or less. I've got food in the freezer, and I know it's a cliche. I know it's like you're lucky just to be able to eat, just to have a roof over your head or whatever. But it's not. It's more than that, and it's true anyway. It is true. It's like the hardest thing to have perspective. But I always think, like if I was in prison and they were like, right, you can get out, but your car's going to be a real pain in the arse and you're going to worry financially and people are going to annoy you. I'd be like, cool, that sounds incredible. Like I've literally been in here like having my back to the wall 24/7, making sure no one comes up behind me and like, worrying about every little thing, worrying that every piece of food I eat has been, someone's done something to it. And cool, I'll happily go out and have that life. And it sounds amazing. It sounds absolutely fucking amazing. And there's so many different ways to remind yourself of that. So asking, is it really that bad, is just one of them. It's just one of many ways to force yourself to have some perspective and to be grateful and to appreciate things. There's so many different like mental exercises you can do in that regard, but that's one. Sometimes is to, because earlier I was like, this is so bad, and then I was like, is it that bad? I mean, if someone else was telling me this story, first of all, I might have thought it was quite boring, so apologies if it was. I didn't really think about that until I got well into the story. But secondly, I might think like, I wouldn't think anything. I would just be like, yeah, all right, that sounds annoying. That's it, basically. If someone told you it, you'd be like, cool, what a pain in the ass. And then you'd move on, you know? You wouldn't be like, that's so terrible. I feel so sad for you. That's awful. Like, you wouldn't really feel anything. You'd just be like, all right, yeah, hope it gets sorted soon. Good luck. Because that's all it really deserves. Yeah, that can really help. I wish I was like better at that. I wish I had the strength to do that more, you know, to kind of just every day just be like, right, you know, got people closest to me, got my dog, got my freedom, got myself, got my health. Like, this is amazing. This is a miracle. I wish I was stronger about doing that, you know. Sometimes I do, but I don't do it enough. I'm not good enough at it. I'm not. And yeah, it's something I want to do more. It's almost like it's kind of like boring. It's one of those things, you know, it's healthy, but it's like boring, you know, like drinking water or like meditating or eating salad or something. You're like, yeah. I'll do it. I'll do gratitude. I'll fucking practice some gratitude. You know, it feels like boring, but you want to like dwell on your feelings. And I think sometimes that's the case, is you don't want to feel good. You know, you would rather, because you're so wrapped up in your own ego, you would rather the perceived like kind of catharsis or outlet of like being pissed off at someone or being upset at a situation or feeling sorry for yourself or narrativizing your own victimhood or something. Often I think I would rather do that. Deep down, really, what I really want is to be like a bitch about it, you know? And that it's not that I actually want to be happy or at peace or accepting. So I think that's a lot of the struggle, is like wanting to be, you know, wanting to feel better. So, yeah, that's all. Yeah, going to go and prepare for this trip and hope it goes well. And in the meantime, yeah, try not to take any of it too seriously. And that's all. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Take care.